Gary, it was a, oh, it's not here, I know that. It was a very dramatic way to arrive for Aniela, because we came here to do a story about John Percival. She had garnered this beautiful collection of John Percival's work, and he died actually not long after that. But Gary took Aniela for a little spin above us here, in a rather middle of the moment. Gary, sadly, as most of you did know, was killed last year, making it for Hawke or something. And it really is just one of those seized moment times, you know, when you look back. I thought about that very keenly coming here yesterday about what happened and life was wonderful. Well, life still is wonderful for those of us in Romania, and we're here surrounded by beautiful artworks today. And Aniela, I've got to say, is one of the bravest people I know. She's a woman of great elegance and flair, and she lives art. She lives in the art world, and she promotes it, she buys and sells, and she supports artists in a climate that is tough. And she never steps back. I really admire her about her. She has great tenacity. She created this place out of a paddock, and what you see is really what represents Aniela's great country. And today she's brought together an amazing body of work of void work, and she's also brought here a special guest, former Prime Minister Bob Hawke and his wife Tavistock, and we're really delighted to see them here. And we've also got Jamie Boyd, who is the most of the work is by Jamie, but also his family and his wife Elena. So without further ado, I'd like you to speak what happened.
Thank you, Maria. And I welcome you today to the Century of Void, a landmark exhibition. First, I want to thank Bob Hawke, the Honourable Bob Hawke, the former Prime Minister, for accepting my invitation to open the exhibition. I have to put glasses on. Now, the Boyd family has been synonymous with the arts for decades. And apparently, Sidney Nolan said to his wife, Mary Boyd, "I am just a humble artist, but you, my dear, you are Boyd." And the Boyd dynasty started in 1886 with the marriage of Emma Minnie Beckett and Arthur Merrick Boyd. They had 5 children, including William Merrick Boyd. And today we have a drawing, which is almost 100 years old, and has been in a family for almost 100 years. Kerry Macquarie, she came from Queensland to be with us today to show her drawing. So this is the drawing which has been in a family for almost 100 years. And it was Kerry's grandmother who met a young man, and she was a young woman, then in Melbourne. And he was drawing at the station, and they were chatting. He eventually gave her the drawing, and he said, "Keep it, I might be famous one day." That young man was William Merrick Boyd, who ended up being a father of Arthur Boyd, David Boyd, and Guy Boyd. As we know, Arthur Boyd, Guy Boyd, and David Boyd sadly passed away last year. And we also have sculptures by Lenore Boyd. She is the daughter of Guy Boyd. Beautiful, exquisite sculptures, which they seem to have a spirit. The exhibition also includes Nathaniel Boyd, who is the youngest son of Jamie Boyd. Already married. He is a musician and a sculptor and a painter. It was in 1995 when Arthur Boyd came to my gallery. And that time, he was the most famous Australian artist alive. And galleries, I never dreamed about having Arthur Boyd paintings here. Galleries would kill to have his presence of his paintings. When he came to my gallery, he looked around and he said, "I'm honored to be in your gallery." I was so moved that I almost cried. He was, of course, thrilled. As his brother, David Boyd, said about Arte, Arte is so humble that he humbles over. Here we are in a privileged position today. We are able to show you for the first time the lost bride of Arte Boyd, which was hidden for almost 60 years. The lost bride is upstairs and was discovered completely by chance by the son of Arte Boyd, Jimmy Boyd, who is here with us today and came with his lovely wife, Helena, somewhere. Jimmy? Over there. You see, very lucky to discover the bride. It's not for sale, but we want to show you. And he's shown as discovered before restoration, so you can see the holes when it was attached. And you can talk to Jamie about that. It's a priceless piece. It predates the original brides. It is not for sale, but just give you information that a bride painting last year, Sotheby's sold a small painting for $1.2 million. So many wonderful, legendary artists from the Boyd family have passed away. And today, now Jimmy Boyd, born 1948, is the most important living artist of the Boyd dynasty. Before I go, I want to share with you the story of my friend, how she acquired the first painting. They saved money for the carpet, but on the way to carpet shop, she stopped by the gallery and she bought the painting instead. And I asked her, was your husband dismayed about it? And she said, over the years, we've worn so many carpets, and that painting we loved and become a family treasure. Today, in a Century of Boyd exhibition, we have so many beautiful paintings and sculptures on the impeccable provenance and quality, within pleasing prices. I saw one that was little oil, $1,200. Well, don't wait too long. And I am deeply honored that Honorable Bob Hawke accepted the former Prime Minister of Australia. Please welcome the Honorable Bob Hawke, the former.
Thank you very much for the honour you've done me in inviting me to open the exhibition, The Century of Boyd. Now, we're a unique country. Of course, we have one of the oldest civilisations, the Aboriginal people who have been here for 50, 60, 70 or more thousand years. But then we had the Poms come in 1788, and they brought a lot of good things for us, and give us many things for which we were thankful, but we're different from them. And one of the things in which we're different is that we don't go in for dynasties, really, like the Poms. We don't really recognise them and revere them. But I think all Australians really do make an exception when it comes to the Boyds, because by any definition, any way you look at it, they are unique. Truly, I believe, an artistic dynasty over several generations now, and so many of them have established themselves as painters, potters, ceramists, writers, architects, graphic designers, sculptors, musicians, you name it, they've done it. And I believe that it is appropriate that they be described as a dynasty. They've earned that title. I'd like to join with you also, Aniela, in thanking Jamie and Helena for coming, making the exhibition possible, coming all the way from London. Thank you very, very much indeed. And of course, as has been mentioned, the exhibition is highlighted, I suppose, by the discovery of the missing bride missing for 6 decades, discovered in rather unusual circumstances, but it's there to see in a very important part of this exhibition. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a particular pleasure in being here today because it was in the latter days of my Prime Ministership that Arthur Boyd first raised the concept of the transformation of Bundanon, the idea of handing it over to the people of Australia. You may not know this, but there's a fair bit of red tape and bureaucracy in government. I made it quite clear when the idea was raised that I thought it was a great idea, let's rip. But it did take a bit of time, so much so that it didn't really come to fruition until I'd finished. But it was in 1983 that Bundanon was donated to the people of Australia by Arthur Boyd, who, as you know, he had the belief that you can't own a landscape. And he wanted the people of Australia to own, possess and have ready access to Bundanon, along with the adjoining property that had been owned by Sydney Nolan. And that, of course, has now become a place, as you know, where every Sunday, the day it's open, also has an education centre there, a program for helping artists, both here and from overseas. So I think you can understand that I do have a particular pleasure in being able to see come to fruition that concept that was put to me in those dying days of my Prime Ministership. And bugger the bureaucrats, we beat them. It took a bit of time. Now, you don't hear any funny stories about art openings and so on, but I'll tell you one. There's this English lady. She was married to this extraordinarily wealthy Englishman, and he died. And she was heartbroken, and she thought she couldn't bear to stay any longer in England. So she sold up all the property and assets, hundreds of millions of dollars, and moved to Paris. So she decided she wanted to be accepted into Paris high society. And so she made some inquiries about what was required to get accepted into Paris high society, and she was told that the thing to do was to get your portrait painted, and then you invited all the leading members of Paris high society. You withdrew from the room, portrait was unveiled, and you came back to the roars of applause and you were in. So money was no object, and she made inquiries as to who was the best portrait painter in France. She was told who it was, Monsieur Le Bon, and she told him that she wanted a portrait painter, and she was getting on a bit, and she said, and I would like you to paint me with sympathy. Oui, madame, oui, madame. So she had a sitting, the great day came, what was covered, time came for her to withdraw from the room, and she was waiting for the applause to go back and be accepted. But she heard these little titters of laughter, and then the titters of laughter grew into roars of laughter, and people came streaming out with tears of laughter going down their face. She knew she was ruined. She goes back in and she could quickly see why this was so. Because there was quite a good portrait of her. But there was one incongruous feature. There was a great hairy male hand shoved down her bosom. He said, you have ruined me. What a minute. Madame, you asked me to paint you with sympathy. This English word? I do not know. I look it up in the dictionary. And what do I find? A foul feeling in the breast. I think we all here share a fellow feeling with you, your admiration and respect for the boys, and it is marvellous to see how you have collected here this evidence of their enormous and diversified talent, and we share that feeling with you, and I have very much pleasure in declaring open the Century of Boyd. Thank you.